Ini, what's in the digger?
La
Yeah, go to the digger.
Mare Rinpoche ngegi introduction chik shubo la
Introduction, Japan goes a man.
la tindu chik shu shawra ya kashi andang antu di Facebook la tangi yorwa ya dina la viewers sawa mau chadu da ngaran zo yo di kala ya di live la chik tangi yorwa la tu tu chik la
Şölen gortada. Hakute. Kan bakal jadi maju kubar.
제발 요 말다 tenso desatando chio marta ngazo tigas discussion je.
Kutsu shawra. Hello everyone, Tashid Dalek. Happy New Year to all. I'm delighted to welcome you all again to Office of Tibet London's monthly talk series on Introduction to Buddhism with His Eminence Ringo Tulku Rinpoche. We are organizing this event to celebrate Gratitude Year for His Holiness the Dalai Lama and to present our youth an opportunity to listen and interact with distinguished Tibetan Buddhist masters and experts. I'm Siring Tsomo with Office of Tibet London. So today's topic is on rebirth. So I'm sure these days many are interested in knowing the concept of reincarnation in Tibetan Buddhism. So if we understood well, then it will help us to explain in a better way. So this is our 4th series. Our first 3 series are now available on our YouTube channel. So we are uploading this video as well on YouTube channel for those who are not able to join us on live today. So let me briefly introduce Rinpoche to our audience because we are broadcasting this on Facebook page, so there may be some new viewers. So Ringo Tulku Rinpoche is the Tibetan Buddhist master of Kagyu order. He was trained in all schools of Tibetan Buddhism under many great masters such as His Holiness the 16th Gyawa Kamapa and His Holiness the Tigu Khenze Rinpoche. He took his formal education at Namgyal Institute of Tibetology. So since 1990, Rinpoche has been traveling and teaching Buddhism and meditation at more than 50 universities, institutes, and Buddhist centers in Europe, USA, Asia, etc. He also participated in various interfaith dialogue. He authored several books on Tibetan Buddhism and also children's book. He founded Bodhicharya, an international organization that coordinates the worldwide activities to preserve and transmit Buddhist teaching and to promote intercultural dialogues and educational and social projects. Before I move on to Rinpoche, let me request all to mute your audio, and we have Q&A session after Rinpoche's talk. So if you have questions, you can either write on our chat box, or you can also write your names so that I will call your names to ask questions directly to Rinpoche. Thank you. So let me now request Rinpoche to please start.
So I'm very happy to see young people here. Last 1 or 2 times I missed them. Because in my first talk, we had lots of interaction and you asked questions, and I was very inspired. So first, starting with our deepest homage to His Holiness, the great 14th Dalai Lama. I thought I should talk about rebirth this time. because this is a very important aspect of Buddhist understanding and belief. And most of the practices are based on the understanding that there is rebirth. Because when we say that we would like to work for the benefit or for ending all the sufferings of all the sentient beings throughout space, then we are thinking about life after life after life, many lifetimes, because this is something we cannot do in one lifetime. So this Yangtze is, from Buddhist point of view, it is believed that there has been many, many lifetimes before us. This is not the only life, and we have limited many lives before, and then we will have many countless lives in future also. Buddha remembered them all his lives before, and he also told lots of stories, what we call now the Jataka stories of his lives before. And he also said that, when you become Buddha, then you can remember everything very clearly, limitlessly. But if you don't become Buddha fully, then even if you become an Arhat, you will remember lots of them, but not everything. So now this is an important question, because most of us do not remember our past lives, and so therefore many people think that there is no life before and there will be no life after, because we don't remember. Now, there are two things here. One is the Buddhist understanding and their logic. I will talk about that shortly. Another is, there are lots of people who actually remember their past lives also. There has been many, many people who remember their past lives. There was a person, I think a doctor called Ian Stevenson. I don't know any of you have heard about him. This American Dr. Ian Stevenson did lots of research on rebirth by looking at the evidence of those people who actually remembered their past life. He went there, interviewed the child or whoever that was, interviewed the people around him or her. Then he also tried to find out the evidence of the stories they told about their past lives. And almost lots of them, he actually found them, and he could totally verify everything that the child remembers, and became completely true. He wrote lots of books. You should, some of you, it will be good if you can actually read some of the books written by Ian Stevenson, because he's a complete scientist. He's not, he's not believing actually anything, but he's just making research. He said that there are lots of evidence that there is life after life, based on the people who actually remember their life, past life, and that they could actually recognize their, their people that they had, either their parents or whoever of the past. But he said this he couldn't say would totally prove that there is life after life, because he said, there is the mind, our mind can know lots of things, and it's very clear. So, it is also possible that that child's mind can actually remember somebody else's memories, and so therefore can have all these remembrance and understandings. It is not totally necessary that he was that person. So that's why he said this is not totally a proof. Then once he found something else. There was one child who remembered that he was, he died because somebody shot him with a gun. And then he also remembers the hospital where he was taken, and things like that, and where he lived. So Ian Stevenson and his group went to this hospital. They found the hospital, and in this hospital they found all the evidence, all the documents of the person who died, including the report of his after death. They do the report of how he died and things like that, and then they could find that the drawings of exactly where he was shot, the place he was shot, and then the place the bullet went out, and then the diameter of the wound and everything. And then when he looked on the body of the boy, he found that exactly that place that he was shot, where the bullet entered also, there was a birthmark, a very clear birthmark. And then where the bullet went out also, he found a bullet, birthmark. And when he measured the diameter of the birthmark, he found them exactly same as the wound on the body of the dead person. And since then, he started to do this study on the birthmarks, because he said that the strongest evidence or the proof of rebirth for him was this, because the mind can have lots of different things can come in his mind, but something that actually happens on your body is not something that you can just imagine, or you can just so after that he did lots of research on these birthmarks, and he found very interesting things and many different evidences that those people who have different kind of birthmarks, and they're sometimes they remember things, and sometimes they have different kind of mental or physical problems related to the way they died in the past and things like that. And then, of course, there are lots of other things also. This is from the scientific point of view. So I will not talk too much about this. Maybe you can. Now, from Buddhist point of view, we say that our what are we? What is it that I am? Usually we say that we are body and mind, but we talk about 6 elements in our body, We have earth element, because like our flesh and bones, and these are made of earth element. Then we have blood, which is the water element. We have heat, warmth in ourselves, that is the fire element. Then we breathe, and that's, without breathing we cannot survive. That's the wind element. And then there's lots of space in us, and that's the space element. Without that we cannot. But on top of that, we have the consciousness element. So these 6 elements together and working in harmony is a person who is living. Now, when these 6 elements are in harmony and living together and changing in the right direction, then we are alive and we are healthy. When something is not in harmony, something becomes a little bit disharmony in these elements, then we get sick. And when this harmony starts to dismantle, then we die. And after we die, the elements, earth element goes into earth, like our body, like flesh and bones become part of the earth. Our blood and all the, moisture becomes part of the water and things like that. But consciousness, this has to have its own, because all of the 4 elements have their own continuum. So in the same way, our mind consciousness, our consciousness, our mind has to have its own continuum, and it has to come from another, because the consciousness is not earth, consciousness is not water, consciousness is not fire, consciousness is not wind. So therefore, it has to have its own continuum. So therefore, there is the consciousness, which is, that consciousness has to have its own continuum, and that is, that makes our birth. That makes our next life. That keeps on, continuously. But it is not exactly also that the person who dies and the person who is born are exactly one and same. This is very important because, from Buddhist point of view, sometimes, we say everything is emptiness. There is nothing called self. There's nothing existing on its own. There's nothing, it's all interdependent. And then at the same time, you say, there is life after life after life. So some people think that there is a contradiction there, because either you have to have no self, or you have to have self, and then you have to, you continue to live. But from Buddhist point of view, it's not contradictory. It's very, very important to understand this, because it's a changing. Everything is changing, and everything is, because there is nothing existing, independently. If something was existing independently, then it could not change. And because it could not change, therefore it could not live, because living is changing. So therefore, now the life now and the life next is not exactly same in one, but it's not totally different also. That's why, they give 5 examples. The first example is milk and yogurt. You know that yogurt is made of milk. Sho is made of homa. But, when yogurt and milk are different. Yogurt is not milk, milk is not yogurt. It tastes different. All the substances, it's different. Everything is different. But when it's yogurt, there is no milk. When it's milk, there is no yogurt. But without the milk, there can't be yogurt. But where did milk go when it became yogurt? And when, where did the yogurt come from? Or, because that milk itself became yogurt, but it's not milk. So therefore, in the same way, we keep on changing. That's why the 5 examples are, katun, melong, katun, marme, melong, ja, pyo. These 5. The pyo is yogurt. Then another is like a lamp, a candle, for instance. You put on the candle, and there is a flame. The first flame and the last flame of the candle, is it same or is it different? Or the candle with which you put the flame on the other candle, is it the same or different? You can't say it's exactly the same, but you can't say it's totally different also. It's the continuum. Same is like I say something. I say, "How many pay me home?" And then you remember this, "How many pay me home?" And how did that go from my mind or to your mind? So, if I say something, you remember it. But how did it happen? It's not exactly same, but it has its continuum. Same is like a mirror. You look at your mirror, and you have your reflection there. Did your face enter into that mirror? The face in your mirror is not you, is not your face. But without your face, you can't have the reflection on the mirror. So therefore, same thing like that. If you put a seal, like the king or the president puts a seal and then makes the order, and then you say, "Oh, this is the order of the king," or but it's not exactly the king. It's just a symbol, but actually it's understood as there are lots of things like that which is not exactly the same, but it is it's the continuum. So our life is like that. When we, it's not only life after life, but a moment after moment, it's changing. And so therefore, we always talk about pardos, 4 pardos, 6 pardos, like that. That at this moment, we are in the pardo of life. It's a changing. Pardo means in between, always in transition. We are in transition at the moment in life. There is no time when we are not changing, and changing a lot. And then when we die, we also change. That it's a different process, but it's same thing, changing. It's also, life is a pardo, it's a transition. Death is a pardo, it's a transition. Then there is also something called the, vesal, luminosity. When we actually experience our true nature, that's also transition. Then there is the pardo being, that's also transition. Then there is the rebirth, that's also transition. There's all transition, and everything is changing and things like that. So therefore, the way I think, the way I react, the way I act with my body, with my speech, with my mind, makes, gives a impression on myself. And that makes, my karma. My karma is a kind of impression or habitual tendency. I put it habitual tendency, the way I see, where I think, where I react, and the way I do things and I react, my emotions especially. That, I am created by my way of doing things. My way, because if I become more and more kind, and if I act with kindness and compassion and generosity and patience in a very positive way, then I become that. That becomes my habit. That becomes my personality. That becomes what I am, and that will bring not only now but also in my death and in my next life also. I become the same. I don't become something totally other than that. But if I act and if I make myself more negative, too much angry, too much negative, too much doing negative things and thinking negative and feeling negative, then that becomes the way I am. So when we talk about heaven and hell and all different kind of realms also, we are talking about that. How I am, how I do things, how I react, that creates the way I will become in future. That also, means that if I work on my positive side, if I increase or develop my wisdom and my compassion, that becomes stronger and stronger until I become totally enlightened like Buddha. But if I do negative things and my emotions and actions all very negative, then I can become worse and worse also. So this is so that is why from Buddhist point of view, our emotions become very important. How we work with our emotions, very important. How we see things, very important. How we experience things, very important. That's why we need to develop our wisdom and our compassion. Wisdom means, if the way everything is and the way we see them is same, then we have wisdom. The way things are and the way we see them is opposite, then we are ignorant. So wisdom becomes very important. So all of us has some wisdom, but we can improve that and we can develop that till we become fully Buddha. Then there's the complete, limitless wisdom. Same with, any emotions, like compassion. Compassion is very important because compassion is the opposite of all negative emotions. So therefore, if we can increase that, it's good for us. It's not only good for other people, If you are compassionate, it's good for us more than good for the people who are, to whom you are compassionate. So that's why, in order to work on our own happiness for now and in the long future, we have to work on this, and that's the practice of Dharma. The practice of Dharma is actually working on our own self, on our wisdom, compassion, and reducing. So this is about the what we call the rebirth. Now you will ask me the question of tulkus, like His Holiness Dalai Lama and things like that. Now this is something a little bit. It's a similar but a little bit different. Now it is said that we are in the samsaric state of mind. So therefore, our rebirth will be according to our karma, according to our state of mind, according to our habitual tendencies and all the of course, many different elements there, but that. So we are not totally, we have not complete control. We have some control, but we have not complete control of how we will be born or where we will be born and things like that. But if you are highly, advanced in your wisdom and in your positive compassion and things like that, highly enlightened, then you have choice. You can be born wherever you want, and you can take birth in order to help others in whatever situation. So that is the tulku, So His Holiness Dalai Lama, for instance, when he dies, he can be born wherever he wants to. And sometimes, if you are a really highly realized person, like high-level bodhisattva or Buddha, if you are a Buddha, you can emanate countlessly. You cannot only become one person, but you can become hundreds and thousands of beings in different worlds, in different, that's the tulku. If you are less, if you are bodhisattva, but a little bit less, then you can have, each different, that's, I will not talk too much about that. But the tulku is something that is, of that kind, that, and in Tibet, it's another story, Usually these tulkus are not necessarily recognized, but Tibet is very unique, where they started to recognize tulkus. When a great Lama died, then his followers tried to find his rebirth or his emanation through different ways, and then they found him, and then that's called the tulku. And sometimes there are many different. There are tulkus with like 14 generations or 17 generations or some even 20 generations and things like that. So that's the tulku. So, but we are here talking about not tulku. At this moment, we are talking about just rebirth of every being. And from Buddhist point of view, we can be born, according to the way we are, worse than ourselves or better than ourselves. It's not that we have to be, as a human being, we can be born as, God's realm or demigod's realm or, the hell realm or any different kind of realms, any different things that according to the way we are. So that's the rebirth, because I want to spend more time with discussion, so I wouldn't talk too long. Next time we will talk more about the Nyön Mopa, or the mental, the emotions, and what we call as the why, what are the problems that we have to work on. So I stop here, and I will be very happy if some of you young people have questions, and many questions and difficult questions.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. Now our Q&A session started. So if you have any questions, you can ask directly. Rinpoche, I would like to ask one question that you have mentioned. Okay. You have mentioned that some in our in common people also, some people they know about their past life. So many of the people they didn't know. We don't know about our past life. So what is the difference? Like some people know, some doesn't. Apart from tulku and all, just in common people.
Uh, it is because of different, it could be, there is, sometimes it is said that, like there are some sutras which say that if you recite this sutra many times, or if you do this kind of practice, then you will remember your past life every lifetime and things like that. And all different kind of situations. So I don't think you can say only one reason. But those people who were found to remember their past lives, that has been, that we have record of scientifically, most of them, it seems, died in a quite, most of them died young, and sometimes most of them died in a kind of violently, or something they didn't want to die, kind of that. It is possible that those people were very strongly kind of, what can you say, didn't want to die at that time, or then. But this is just speculation. But according to Buddhist way of saying, according to karma, they say it's according to karma. It's according to also different circumstances and different mental states and things like that. But it is also said that if you really want to remember your past life, you can also cultivate that power to remember. Because there is we all remember, we have memory, we can remember. Some people can remember quite early, like 1 year after we were born, we can remember from there. Some can remember after 2 years, some can remember after 3 years, some remember only after 4 years, or things like that. People have different memories. And there is also a kind of meditation, they say, to remember the past. It's actually in the teachings that if you want to remember the past, although it's not always good to remember the past, sometimes I think it is also a blessing that we don't remember the past lives, because maybe it's too much complicated, lots of different things that. So, if you think about the, just a moment before, allow our mind to be there, then next day we go a little bit further in the past, and then slowly we go a little bit further in the past. And, if we do this kind of meditation, step by step, slowly go back, till we are, very small and very, young. Then, when we were born, and then slowly after, like that, it is said that we can actually go back to remember more and more in the past. And actually, if our mind becomes very, very calm, and very, very, very steady, then also it is said that we can remember past much more clearly, and but not necessarily everything, but more and more. So it's all about, there's a training also, I think. But there's another thing, which is that, we don't remember kind of chronologically everything what happened, in the past. But I think there are another way of remembering, like most of us, we know lots of things that we didn't learn in this life. But we cannot compare what I know with somebody else, because I don't know what somebody else is knowing, So, some people are very good in something. Even if they didn't learn it, they know how to do this. Like some people are naturally good at, music. Some people are naturally good at singing. Some people are naturally good at something else, lots of other things. And then these things also, it's kind of a remembering, like I think it's a little bit like, there are people who have an accident and then they forget, their memory is lost, but they don't remember who they are and things like that sometimes. But they don't forget lots of things. They can still speak, and they can, if they knew how to drive a car, they still know how to drive a car, although they don't remember how they learned and things like that. So when we die, we lose our brain. So that kind of memory, whether memory is so, I think we don't have, but we have lots of other things that. So I think we also remember lots of things from the past, but we don't know how much we remember from the past or how much we learned from this life. So I think that's why also everybody is different. The children who are from the same parents and sometimes even twins have totally different mentality, different interest, different very different from each other. This, from Buddhist point of view, is coming from their past also.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. Next, we have Yang Den La. You can unmute and then ask question.
My question is, why does rebirth count on your actions and your thoughts?
Because, what I am now is because of what happened to me in the past. Yeah? So now I'm the way you are, the way I am now, is because of my past. They're like not only my past life, but this life also, like what happened to me when I was a child, what happened to me, how did I study, or what did I do, and what did I, what kind of training I have, and all these things. And not only, that, but also, like what happened to me today, like if today, if I didn't have my breakfast, for instance, I would be feeling different, no? If I didn't have any sleep last night, the way I would be now would be different. So all these things, including everything happened in my past lives, also, make me what I am now. So therefore, now what I am doing now, the way I am acting, the way I'm reacting, the way I'm thinking, way I'm functioning, affects my future, because it's the same continue. That's why, so that's why if I, like, you study in the school now, yeah? Why you study in the school? Because when you grow up, you want to be a better person, yeah? You want to know more, you want to be more efficient, you want to be, a very good person, an efficient person, a knowledgeable person. So what kind of person you become when you become adult depends on what you do in your childhood, no? So same way, what you would become next life is also dependent on how you are now in this life, So that's the idea.
Thank you. Now we have Sonam. Sonam, can you ask question?
Where is Sonam? Oh, yes, Sonam.
Does the concept of rebirth only occur within humans, or can traces be found in animals?
From Buddhist point of view, every living being has its rebirth. Yeah? Whether it's humans or animals or whatever. But that's why, from Buddhist point of view, humans is not necessarily that we will be born as humans all the time. If humans become animals, animal can become humans, and all different kind of. From Buddhist point of view, it's not only humans and animals that they are life. There could be many different types of lives also that we can see or that we cannot see. So depending on that, the way we are and the way we act and the way we, how we react, then that will be, that same kind of we will become. That's the idea.
Thank you. Now we have Nopel. Nopela.
Yeah, let me just quickly turn on my camera. One sec.
It's all right.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. My question for you is: given that if Buddhism holds that each new life if Buddhism holds that the soul or mind is passed along through different lives, how do you explain stuff like population increase? Because if it's the case that there is just a set amount of souls or minds that exist, how can new life emerge? How can populations increase? Would you say that there is a deeper substrate that souls and minds can emerge from, and then enter these creatures who are alive? It's basically just, I'll summarize. In essence, I'm asking, unless there is a set amount of minds plus souls in Buddhist theory, how can the amount of species increase?
Now there, when we talk about, I think we already talked about, the different life forms. When we are thinking about life increasing certain population, say like human beings, there are lots of other beings whose population we are not aware of. Like animals or other beings who are not necessarily called animals. Also, there are so many. And then also from Buddhist point of view, this is not the only earth where life can be. There are countless, there are countless, even on the way we, in this, the way we see, like the universe. There is countless universes. Like we talk about 3 circles of thousands. Like for instance, this solar system. Say you can take it as a solar system. This solar system, 1,000 times, 1,000 solar systems is counted as the first 1,000. Count that as one, and then the 1,000 of them is what we call the second round of 1,000. And count that as one, and then count another 1,000, and that's what we call as Tongsimji Tongchenpo. This 3 circles of thousands. That comes all about 1 billion solar systems. Now this is just one, then there are countless numbers of them. You can see the space. Space is is limitless. So therefore, there is, countless and unlimited space and unlimited worlds. So all these worlds can have beings. Maybe there are beings which we can see, there are beings which we cannot see, there all kind of beings can be there. So therefore, it is not, you cannot exactly say, from where you are born, and and not also. Then there's another thing, which is, when I say I am a kind of, I am a being. So as I said, as we have this samsaric state of mind, then I have one kind of one continuum. I am this, and next I am that, and next I am born there. But when I realize my true nature, when I become free from that grasping to me as me only, then I can become limitless. If I want, I can become million beings also. Because I'm actually not one. It's a little bit complicated. Maybe we cannot, it's difficult.
I can understand.
You can understand.
Yeah. That's good.
So therefore, we feel that I am the person, and this is the only me, is my perception at the moment. So therefore, that way then I am one. But actually, that also is how I exist is very, it's a little bit complicated. Yeah. So from that point of view, then it can be like that.
Thank you. Rinpoche, we have one question from our children. He's asking that how does our it's not okay. When we dream, is it just related to this life or past life as well?
A dream can be, I think, different things. Dream. Usually, they say that dream can be of what they say, 4 kinds. Generally, one dream can be our habitual tendencies. Like what I've been doing in the daytime and the way we are and things like that. That is also can come in the dream. Another dream is that, the things, it's more deeper level of our consciousness. Those can come up in our dreams also. Then there is also a dream that is to do with our health. They say that, the way our body and different kind of our body is very interdependent and with lots of different elements and things like that. And so if certain elements are more kind of up or down and things like that, we have different kind of dreams. So sometimes people can, doctors or things can see your health because of your dreams and things like that. And then sometimes, also the, how your mind kind of, you can say your consciousness travels in your different channels also can show different dreams. But then there are also dreams that is like what called it? Future. You can see future in the dream, like especially, when mind is a little bit clear and in the down, some you can dream and then that will happen actually in the life, so premonitions or, foretelling dreams also. So, dreams can be of many different kinds.
Thank you. The next we have question from Tengila.
Tengila?
So firstly, thank you for your talk. I've learned a lot about rebirth today. So my question is, rebirth is a continuous cycle that happens over and over again unless you reach enlightenment. But then it must have started at one point. So what got us into the cycle of rebirth in the first place?
The thing is like this, the way we are, is, now this is also not easy to say, because when I say the way we are, then we kind of make it as if I am one something independent. But in our language, we cannot say anything else. So, the way we are, in our mind is, the way our consciousness is, and the way Buddha's consciousness is same thing. It's not different. They say, it's same. But right from the beginning, because we don't understand. We don't understand who we are. We have ignorance. There are different kind of ignorance. One ignorance is that we, like when we are, if we are just awaking, from our sleep, then we kind of don't know what's happening. We don't know where we're happening, and then kind of a little bit, and then a little bit of kind of slight, what can you say, shock or fear, or what's happening. In that kind of a thing, then yes, this is me, and this is what is happening is others. And so, this is a little bit complicated, so I won't go too much deep into it. But then, that's what we call the first ignorance. Is like a moment of awareness where you separate me from everything else. I am there, and all these things are there. Actually, it's all your awareness. There is nothing else but your own awareness. There is an awareness, but that awareness you split into two. This is me who sees things, and this is things that I see, and that creates the what we call the dualistic view. And when you have that dualistic view, then you created an individual, because this is me and this is others. And then from that, then you start to the samsaric state of mind. But there is no point where you can say that this happened at this time, because the time is relative. The time is relative, because when we usually think that there's a past and there's a future and there's a present. But if you look a little bit deeply, what is past? Past is based on present. If there is no present, there can't be past. So anything happened before now, you can say past. And anything that will happen after now will be future. But where is the present now? Because this moment passed, this moment passed, this. So actually, you don't have a present moment. It's our mind, our experience. They say this is present, but this present is not there. So therefore, it's very difficult to say. Of course, in a relative sense, of course, there is past and there is future and there is present. But in an ultimate way, this is also a concept. Yeah, it's just so. Therefore, it's very difficult to say exactly when we became. There is nothing called this is exactly the time we became, because ignorance by itself is timeless. Like for instance, like I have not met you before, for instance. Yeah. So Losel Jatsen, I meet you now today. Yeah. So you cannot say since when I didn't know Losel Jatsen. Can you find a time when I didn't know you? No, because I didn't know you. So, there is no time that starts from, Every unknowing thing is like that. Every ignorance, everything that I don't know has no beginning because I just didn't know. But there's a time when can start knowing. Yeah? So this is same with, there is no starting point of our, because we never, it's not that we became enlightened and then we were enlightened and then we became unenlightened. It's not like that. We didn't know. So that's why, and then we know, then we become enlightened. And then once we know, we can't make it unknowing. Because, I know you, so I can't pretend. I can pretend not to know you, but I cannot make myself not know you. So that's how the enlightenment is talking. Yeah. So this is how it says. So that's why sometimes people say that when somebody becomes enlightened, they become enlightened as Vajradhara, the first Buddha, primordial Buddha. So when somebody becomes enlightened, and also, when you become enlightened, that doesn't mean that that's the end of life, that's the end of that's the end of, what can you say? That's the end of the life that is without freedom. But that's not end of life. Yeah. So when you become enlightened, then you can, if you want to be, you can be any different things. You can be many different people. You can be, so you are free, but it's not ending. Nothing is ending. This continuum is all the time. So the Buddhas are always there in a way, in one way, it's always there. In a one way, you can't say it's there or it's not there, things like that. But, so this is, I don't know if I fully answered your question because it's quite difficult, but it's like that.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
very much.
understood.
Thank you. And now, Pembal Hamula, can you ask the question?
Thank you, Rinpoche. My question is about how does our mind transfer from one body to the other, specifically around the time as well, before one passes away? The stages, I wonder whether you could explain that in a more simpler version. Thank you.
Now this is, like now, when we die, now first we have to die. So the death is, this is our life. And so, we have these 6 elements, we are in the 6 elements. So the 6 elements has to dissolve, the first, I think, each of these elements will dissolve into each other. So therefore, our body slowly, like our earth anyway, I won't go into all details, but slowly. And then when our wind element, that is our breathing, when stop breathing, that's our our wind or the air element dissolve into air or into consciousness, then our what can you say, our physical death or our body becomes like dissolved elements. Then mental, then the mind. Mind is also at many different levels. So therefore, all different what we call the different 50 mental factors and things like that. They also has to dissolve. They dissolve slowly, and then we go to the what we call as the clear light. That means that the most subtlest stage of our consciousness, the most subtlest, and that is the one stage where if we realize, if we are very very trained, then we can be in that stage, which is like almost like enlightenment. And if a person can recognize that and remain in that, then that person goes to Tugdam. You have heard about some lamas going into Tugdam. After they die, they can sit like this for several days, and they. So that is that indication that this person is in that state. And then you come out of that stage. When you come out of that stage, then usually your consciousness goes out of your body. And then there is, some people, like people in the Tugdam, then they become kind of enlightened, so they don't have to. But most of us, then our consciousness come out of our body, and then our consciousness have its own body, like Pardo body. We feel that we have a body, although we, there's not a physical body, but. And then it depends on how we are, how we react, and how we know how to do that, and also depends on the support from like others, great masters, or prayers, or support. So then we can also go to Devachen and this kind of pure realms, or we can then go for another life. We can be. What can you say? We can remain in that stage for some time also, depending on different elements, different situations. And then there's also teachings on, how to act that time, how to react that time. So all these are in the Pardo Tudol, the teachings of the Pardo. And then, if we do well, then we can take birth in a human being or something, pure realm and things like that, and then, then we are born there. So that's how, So after we awake from that, the subtlest state, then, we have our consciousness back, and then that's the time very important, because, we can be anywhere that we think, because we have no physical body. So if I think about like Buddha, we are with the Buddha. If you think about, Purim, we are there. But we think about something too much aversion or attachment or negative feeling, then we become there also. So that's why, that stage is supposed to be very important.
Thank you very much. Rinpoche, we have one last question from one of our children. It says, did Pön share the concept of rebirth similar to that of Tibetan Buddhism?
Pön what?
Did Pön Phön share the concept of rebirth similar to that of our Tibetan Buddhism?
I think so. But I don't know exactly completely the Phön. I didn't study Phön for too much, but more or less I think it's the same. Most of the things that the Phönpo teachings are very exactly the same. It's just that they're different terms. Like in Buddhism we call it Chu, and in Phönpo they call it Phön, and things like that. The different terminologies, but most of the concepts are same.
Thank you. Now we are running short of time. If Rinpoche have time, we are taking one question from the Facebook. Is that okay with Rinpoche?
Yes, of course.
There is a question from a person from Facebook. He's asking that how much is our thoughts contributing to our karma that then gives cause to conditions in our reincarnation? Are these subjects we should avoid, which is not beneficial for our good karma?
Our thoughts, yes, but more than thoughts, our emotions. Our emotions are very, very important because, first a thought comes, then becomes our emotion, and then, we get very stuck with our emotions. And especially if we react with that emotion and hold on to these emotions, then it becomes karma. Actually, emotion is what actually makes karma more. Of course, when we act with our body, then of course it becomes more stronger and more concrete, but basically it's the emotions.
Thank you. Another question from Facebook is that how can one explain Buddhist in layman terms and difference between Buddhist and non-Buddhist?
Generally speaking, Buddhism is the teaching by the Buddha. Teaching by the Buddha, and then non-Buddhist is teachings from other sources. But when we talk about Dharma, we in Buddhism we don't talk too much about Buddhism. We talk about Dharma and non-Dharma. And when we talk about Dharma, then anything that is that helps us to become helpful, better, hold us from falling down into negative state of being. That's Dharma. So it doesn't necessarily, that I have to believe in Buddha or I have to receive the teaching. There can be, we can do lots of Dharma without being Buddhist also. So this, I think we have to understand this very clearly, because from Buddhist point of view, we talk about practicing Dharma. We never say, I practice Buddhism, actually. I practice Dharma. So, that is very important.
Thank you. With this, we are concluding our today's session. Thank you very much, Rinpoche, for giving us your valuable time. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you in next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, the children, for asking very nice questions, and that I can see you, because if I see you, then I feel as if I'm talking to somebody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.